Good morning. So, today's class is about the purpose of the mitzvot. As we are learning about the this parashiot about the Mishkan, there's about 5 parashiot that speak about the Mishkan, and so um, we also learn about the purpose of having the Mishkan, the purpose of just in general of making the performing mitzvot. So, before we get started, B'Shem Hashem Naseh V'Netzliach. This shiur is dedicated to Le'ilui Nishmat Leticia Bat Zahara, Gracia Bat Zahara, Nisim Ben Yamna, Rachel Yaakov, Yecheskel Baruch Ben Avram Halevi, and all those people who were murdered prior, on, or post October 7, and Simcha, Leah Bat Simcha, and Refuah Shlema, Avram Ben Chana B'toch Kol Am Yisrael, Chole Am Yisrael. And for our singles to meet their partners in life, she is Kul Livnot Bait Ne'eman BeYisrael. And for the safe return of our hostages and soldiers, and thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim and all those miracles that you're doing for us. And thank you to my listeners for tuning in and wanting to grow and learning along with me. So, we're going to start on the Torah starts telling us about the Parashat Terumah. That's when Hashem asked us to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, which was really, it was something that they were able to carry as they were traveling throughout the desert, until actually they would build the Bet HaMikdash once they would go into Eretz Yisrael. So, I am bringing here the explanation of Sefer HaChinuch from Rabbi Avraham Halevi, and this is the mitzvah number 95. So the Torah is telling us about the building of the Mishkan, what goes in, how it is made, the measurements, and many, many details, and what type of material is supposed to be used. All of these were taught in 5 parashiot. So there's really a lot to talk about. However, we're going to start with Sefer HaChinuch that gives us the purpose, teaches us the purpose of a mitzvot. We perform mitzvot the whole time. But really, what's the purpose of it? So Rabbi Avraham Halevi starts by discussing the the purpose of mitzvot in general, not specifically about the Mishkan, but just in general. And he asks us a question. We know that Hashem is perfect, and He has no need for our service, for our avodah. And it's obvious that man cannot give anything to Hashem, because everything belongs to Him. Well, I give tzedakah. It's Hashem who gave me the money to be able to give tzedakah. What can I give? Life, my body, everything. It all belongs to Hashem. Whatever is on earth belongs to Hashem. He's the one who created, and He put everything into it, right? So in that case, what then did Hashem command us to perform the mitzvot? Hashem is the one who's giving us everything. Without His help, we would not be here. We would not have anything at all. So why is He telling us to give sort of like back to Him what He gave us, right? Because again, whatever we own comes from Hashem. So, is there a benefit that reaches Hashem? Does Hashem benefit when people perform mitzvot? And Sefer HaChinuch answers, and he says like this: when people perform mitzvot, we then become recipients for all the berachot, all the goodness that He wants to bless us with. For this reason, Hashem has informed us about the derech hatovah, the right path, the path of the Torah, the path that is good. And by following the Torah, we become better human beings, and then we are worthy of His blessings. In Sefer Devarim, Parashat Ekev, Perek Yud 10, Pesukim 22 and 23, it says, Ve'ata Israel, and now Israel. Moshe was talking to all of Ben Israel. Ma Hashem Elokecha shoel me'imach. What is Hashem, your God, asking of you? Ki im leyir'a et Hashem Elokecha. All Hashem is asking is for you to fear Him, lalechet bidrachav, to follow His ways, le'ahava oto, to love Him, la'avod et Hashem, to serve Hashem, bechol levavecha. How are we supposed to serve Hashem? Bechol levavecha, with all your heart, ubechol nafshecha, and with all your soul, with all your neshama, all your being. Lishmo et mitzvot Hashem, to keep the mitzvot of Hashem, vet chukotav, and even those chukim. The chukim, chok is a mitzvah that we don't understand why we have to keep it, but all the same we still have to keep it. Asher anoche mitzavecha hayom, Hashem, that I'm commanding you today, letov lach. It will be good for you. It means that when we perform the mitzvot, it's for our own benefit. That's what it means. That means that Hashem is asking us to keep the mitzvot for our own benefit. Hashem does not need our mitzvot. Why not? Because everything is His. What am I giving? If I'm doing something, it's because He created me and He gave me the talents and the power and the intelligence and whatever else it takes to do whatever it is that I'm doing. Right? Everything is His. He has no gain. Hashem has absolutely no gain when a mitzvah is performed. We're not doing Him a favor. He wants us to perform the mitzvot for our own benefit. But rather, Hashem wants to bless us. And when man is ready through performing the mitzvot, because we perform the mitzvot, then we are ready and we are prepared to receive all those blessings. Just like when Yitzchak wanted to bless Esav, what did Yitzchak say? Go hunt for me. Bring me bison. Bring it to shechita. Prepare it the way I like it. Cook it the way I like it. What for? So that I can bless you. Why couldn't Esav just go to the sheep? They had plenty of. Esav was very wealthy. Yitzchak was very wealthy. They had plenty of sheep, plenty of herds that he could have used, but no. Yitzchak says to him, no, you have to go and you have to hunt. Tire yourself. Go and look for something from good venison and bring it and prepare it the way I like it so I can bless you. What does this mean, I can bless you? So then the blessings will be fulfilled on you. For your own benefit, I'm asking you to do this. So, For this reason, Hashem has informed us of the good path, the derech hatovah. Through the observance of the mitzvot, we become better human beings. And by becoming better human beings, by overcoming our Yetzer Hara, by fixing what is not really right, if we are selfish, or if we are not really good with chesed, or if we are not really good with the way we're praying, or saying berachot, or listening to other people. But we know of these lacking things that we have, these traits that are not really good, so we try to fix them. However small is that we try to fix that, right? That makes us a better human being. And by doing that, then we are becoming worthy of Hashem's blessing. Why? Because we have fulfilled Hashem's will. By doing the mitzvot, by performing the mitzvot. We have the Torah that teaches us, and Chachamim who are guiding us how to perform the mitzvot. Each mitzvah has its own way of performing it. So by performing the mitzvah according to Hashem's will, that's how we get the blessings, because we are doing what Hashem wants us to do. However, someone who performs mitzvot but does not behave accordingly. Unfortunately, sometimes we bump into people who, yes, they are keeping Shabbat and they're learning and they're doing lots of things, but behavior is not really up to par. It's not really what it should be, right? Such a person is really not doing the will of Hashem. Such a person is actually going against the will of Hashem. And that stops the blessings. In Devarim, in Perek 14, chapter 14, it says, Hen la Hashem Elokecha, Hashamayim ushme Hashamayim, haaretz v'chol asher ba. That means, here we see, everything belongs to Hashem. Hashamayim, and whatever is in Shamayim, and the land, the earth, and whatever is in the earth. That means Hashem does not need our mitzvot for himself. If we need the mitzvot, it's for our own good. And all the mitzvot that we do, we are able to do them only because of Hashem's chesed, because He gives us the ability to perform these mitzvot. If it's tzedakah, or going helping, or listening to someone, or giving an advice, whatever it is. Hashem loves us so much that He's commanded us to perform the mitzvot, to provide for us zechuyot, merits. That's it. For us to have zechuyot. Those people who perform the mitzvot, knowing that they'll be blessed, yesh lahem helek la'olam haba. So these people, which is really most of us, so yes, we perform the mitzvot because we want to have the blessings. So we have a share in Gan Eden. However, there is a higher level of performance, says the Sefer HaChinuch. These people whose entire existence, their entire goal in life is to fulfill the Retzon Hashem, to fulfill the will of Hashem. They have such a strong love of Hashem that all they want to do, doesn't matter what I want to do. That's the way they think. They think, it doesn't matter what I want to do. I want to do what Hashem wants me to do. For those people, Hashem opens up their heart for them to know and understand deeper the midot of Hashem. They come to understand some of the ways of Hashem and His attributes. They desire so much to be close to Hashem that they're not paying attention to the blessings that every one of us, most of us, really want. What do they want? They really want to be close to Hashem. And that's why Chachamim tell us, Tzaddik gozer, Hashem mekayem. The Tzaddik has changed his whole nature just to fulfill the will of Hashem, to the point Hashem says, since you are really, you have no will of your own, all your will is really my will, in that case, when you want to do something, I will follow your will, Hashem says. So that's why we see that tzaddikim, even after the death, they are able to help us and do miracles and perform miracles. And that's a very high level of avodah. This is the level of the avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and so many tzaddikim, so many, the Ari Kadosh, the Baba Sali. It's just a few. There's so many. Chas v'shalom, I don't want to hurt any tzaddiks because I'm not mentioning his name. But he is so, Baruch Hashem, we have been blessed with so many tzaddikim. But each one of them lived his life only according to the will of Hashem. The Mesilat Yesharim in the first parak explains that one who is able to come close to Hashem, that is in itself a tov biyoter. That's the best. A person who is able to really do only Hashem's will, that is the best. So now we've spoken until now about mitzvot in general, right? Who benefits from the mitzvot and why Hashem has commanded us to perform the mitzvot. Now let's come to learn about why did Hashem tell us to build the Bet HaMikdash, the Mishkan, and later on the Bet HaMikdash in Eretz Yisrael. The whole purpose of building the Bet HaMikdash and the Mishkan was for us to be able to offer korbanot, sacrifices, and for us to pray. In the time of the Bet HaMikdash, they didn't have a siddur the way we have it now. That was written down. The prayers were written down much later. Much. But people were able to just, from their heart, they would pray when they would come to the Bet HaMikdash. And actually, Shlomo HaMelech, after he completed the Bet HaMikdash, he went in after the dedication, and he said a prayer, such a long prayer. One of the things that he mentioned is, Hashem, anyone who comes here to pray in the Bet HaMikdash, whether it's a Jew or a non-Jew, though the non-Jews were not allowed to go in, and Ben Israel were allowed to go up to a certain point of the Bet HaMikdash. The Leviim were allowed up to a certain point in the Bet HaMikdash. And only the Kohanim were able to actually walk around inside the Bet HaMikdash. And the Cohen Gadol, in the Kodesh HaKodashim, the holiest of all places, only once a year on Yom Kippur. And so Shlomo HaMelech was praying, Hashem, when people, any Jew, any simple Jew, any Jew is going to come, doesn't matter whether he keeps mitzvot or doesn't keep mitzvot, whether he's a Jew or not a Jew, but if the fact that he comes here and he prays to you, please Hashem, listen to his prayers. So why do we have a Bet HaMikdash? For us to offer korbanot, sacrifices, and for us to pray. It is all in order to prepare our hearts and to be focused in our avodah, in our service. Because really, truly, no building on earth can really contain Hashem. Because if there would have been such a building, then he would not have been Hashem. Hashem cannot be contained in an area. That's why when we were young, we learned the song, Hashem is here, Hashem is everywhere, up, down, right, left, all around. Because Hashem is everywhere. He cannot be contained in one area. Hashem is everywhere. Hashem does not need such a building for his kavod, for his honor. He doesn't need it. So it is very clear that this mitzvah of building the Mishkan and later on the Bet HaMikdash is really for our own benefit. Because through our actions, through the sacrifices, through the prayers, through the performance of the mitzvot, right, we improve. And because we are praying, because we are doing chesed, because we are keeping Shabbat, because we are eating kosher, because we are saying berachot, because we are walking around eating, because we are doing all the good things, right? We're improving. And our actions just keep on improving. And as our actions increase, we constantly perform them. Constantly we perform the mitzvot every day. We are affected by these actions. And that affects our heart. Our heart becomes pure. And that is the reason that Hashem has asked us to establish a place that is pure. The Mishkan, the Bet HaMikdash, today is the shul, the Bet HaKnesset. A place that is pure and spiritually clean, so our thoughts would be purified. Because the more we do good, the better we become. Through these actions, we recognize Hashem's mitzvot, Hashem attributes, attributes, his midot. We recognize his rahamim, his hesed. And we perform mitzvot out of love for him. For the Bet HaMikdash, Hashem chose Yerushalayim. It says in Sefer Devarim, it says a few times that we are to build the Bet HaMikdash in the place that Hashem is going to choose. Hashem chose. Why? Why did Hashem? So Hashem chose Yerushalayim. Why did Hashem choose Yerushalayim? Hashem chose Yerushalayim because Yerushalayim is the center of the world. When we look at the picture, so we look at the center of the picture. And then we look at what goes on around it, the trimmings and whatever else on the outside of it. But really we look at the center of the picture, because that is the main picture. That's what it is. The center of the picture. And the Rambam says in Bet HaBechira, in second Perek, Pasuk 1 and 2, in paragraph 1 and 2, he writes that Hara Moriah, where the Bet HaMikdash was built, is the place, a very special place. How special? Abraham brought Yitzchak for the Akedah there to sacrifice him. Sorry. The Mizbeach was built, the altar was built on that place where Abraham built a Mizbeach, and later on the Mizbeach for the Bet HaMikdash was built in that same place. Noah built also a Mizbeach in that same place. Cain and Hevel brought their offerings, and Adam also, in that same place. Adam brought an offering on the same day that he was created. And Adam was created from that same spot. So man originated from the same location where he received his kapara, his atonement for his averot. So through the pure thoughts and high level of spirituality that we will gain and attain in such a place, Hashem will rest his Shekhinah, his divine presence in that place. No other place on earth can achieve that level of purity. And no other place on earth can help us become so close to Hashem. That's why Hashem chose Yerushalayim and Hara Moriah, which today, unfortunately, the mosque with the golden dome is built right on top of exactly where Adam was created from, and the Mizbeach that Avraham Avinu built, and all those people that we just mentioned. Now we move on to the mitzvah number 99, which is from Sefer HaChinuch, and which is from Parashat Tetzaveh. Learn about the clothing of the Cohen Gadol. So a regular Kohen wore 4 different pieces of clothing. That was his uniform. And the Cohen Gadol had 8 pieces of clothing. That was his uniform. So the Kohen, a regular Kohen, he used to wear a sash, avnet, a ketonet, a tunic, michnasayim, pants, and the mikbaat, which is a hat. The Cohen Gadol would be wearing these, exactly, the sash and the tunic and the pants, but his hat was different from the hat of the regular Cohen. It's called the mitsvot. And then he would be wearing the ephod, the choshen, the tzitz, and the mail. The choshen is where the breastplate, where it had the 12 stones. The ephod is some kind of an apron, and the tzitz was a golden headband that he had on his forehead, and the me'il, that was like a robe, a long robe with sleeves. All of them were made with threads that had gold in them, a golden thread in them. They were made of 3 types of wool: techelet, which is like turquoise, argaman, which is purple, and tolaat shani, which is red wool. Together, they were woven with 1 golden thread into 1 thread, and linen. And each thread contained 28 strands. That's 7 of the turquoise, 7 um, of the red wool, 7 of the purple wool, etc. The size of the Choshen was 1 amma by a half an amma. An amma is about, this is 1 amma from here to here. That's called an amma, right? And it was folded underneath it. It was folded. There was a fold inside it, so that it would really be it would be a square. And on it were the 12 stones that were set in a setting, in a gold setting, and that was the Choshen was attached to the shoulder straps. On each one of the shoulder straps there was a stone. On each one of the stone there were 6 names of the Shivatim, and here was the other 6 names of the Shivatim. Here on each stone was the name of Shivatim of each Shevet, and the color of the stone belonged to the Shevet, was the color of the flag. In the fold of the breastplate, the Cohen would write the name of Hashem on a piece of parchment. There were like 72 letters, and he would put that inside the fold, so it would never really fall out. And whenever they had the question to ask of Hashem, they would ask Hashem, and Hashem would make the letters that were on the names of the Shivatim, it would make them light, and that's how they got the answer. That was what we call the Urim Vetumim. Urim is or, from the light, because the letters would light up. The ephod, that was the apron, again was made from the same material. It was like an apron, but the apron that was open in the front. Okay? The Choshen, I explained already about it. The Me'il, there was like a long garment, like a robe, worn over the ketonet, the tunic, and at the bottom of it, on the hem, it had pomegranates. It had 72 pomegranates made from those threads that we spoke about, the gold and the linen and the red wool, the turquoise, right? And the purple. And it also had real pomegranate made of gold. And the reason for this is because when the Cohen Gadol would go on Yom Kippur into the Kodesh HaKodashim, what would happen? If Hashem did not forgive Ben Israel their sin, then the Cohen Gadol, if he would die there, they would hear the Cohen Gadol move around in the Kodesh, doing whatever he was supposed to be doing. And that's why there were these pomegranates. They were like bells. And but when he would go inside the Kodesh HaKodashim, they would not hear him move around, right? The Kohen used to have a chain that was attached to his foot, because no one was allowed to go inside the Kodesh HaKodashim, and they would pull him out from using the chain. And the tzitz. The tzitz, as I said, was like a headband made of gold. It would say Kodesh LaHashem, and it would tie it up with the ribbons in the back. Now, each one of the clothing that the Cohen Gadol wore atoned for certain sins. So here we are. The avnet, the sash that was, sash was like wide, right? So it was like right under his chest, and right across his and it would reach um, to his waist. And so the avnet, the sash, that was to atone for the sinful thoughts of the heart. Because thoughts come from the heart. The Choshen Mishpat, the 12 stones, right? That was for perversion of justice. When judges are judging, but they're not doing it right. The ephod, which is the ephod is the apron, and that was for avodah zarah. And me'il, the long robe, that was for lashon hara, the noise, right? We said at the bottom it had the bells, right? People who speak lashon hara make a lot of noise. Okay, and tzitz ga'ava, the headband, the golden headband, that was to atone for ga'ava. So these are what Chachamim are teaching us. How do we understand this atonement? How do we understand this? Because he's wearing the avnet, or because he's wearing the sash, or because he's wearing the headband, so that's going to atone for sins of ga'ava, of being full of ourselves. Well, how does it really work? So Sefer HaChinuch explains, it says like this: it doesn't mean that as long as the Cohen Gadol was doing his avodah and wearing this garment, that everyone was forgiven for his sins. Doesn't mean that at all. So according to some Mefrashim, it atoned only for those who, by mistake, beshogeg, by mistake they made a sin, or they spoke lashon hara when they should not have spoken lashon hara, right? As an example. Other chachamim say no. Even sins bemezid, it means with the intention. I spoke lashon hara because I really wanted. I know what I was doing, and I wanted to speak lashon hara, right? However, the sinner has to do teshuvah. According to others, it was really to lessen, like to take away some of the seriousness of the sin. But the person, the individual who sinned, still had to do teshuvah. So, what is the connection between these specific garments worn by the Cohen Gadol and kapara, and atonement for the sins? So to understand better, first we need to look at clothing, the way the Torah does. Torah really puts a big emphasis on clothing. For example, a Kohen who's doing his service in Bet HaMikdash, a regular Kohen, or Kohen Gadol, but he got his clothing stained, he must immediately, in the middle of it all, stop, go and change. He may not continue with dirty clothing. But they had to deal with sacrifices, blood, they had to deal with ashes. A Kohen who served with dirty clothing, chayav mita, he deserved to die. So clothing is something that is very important. We are taught by Chachamim to walk around with clothing that looks good, clothing that is clean, not torn, clothing that is respectable. And the Torah teaches us clothing is compared to character traits. to midot. Just as the body is clothed with garment, so too the neshama is clothed with its personality and its traits. So the traits, the personality of a person are the clothing of the neshama. And Shlomo Melech said in Kohelet, in chapter 9, Pasuk 8, clothing is referred as mad. Mad means a measure, as it is made to the person's measurements, right? When we wear clothing, I'm not going to wear clothing that is 3 or 4 times or twice the size of what I need, right? So it's really made to measure. So too, Chachamim teach us that the garments of the neshama, the midot that we have, our character traits, they too have been given to us by Hashem, right? Whether I'm a girl or a boy, a woman or a man, everything has been given to me by Hashem in appropriate measure, midah. Why? To help each one bring out his strength. So that I can use my traits and bring out all those powers that I have inside me, so I can do what needs to be done. What Hashem has really, the expectations of Hashem. The garments of the Kohen are really a representation of his inner traits and character. So when the Cohen Gadol puts on these garments, he looks to their spiritual traits and allows their kedusha and tiferet, the splendor, to transform him and rectify the world of traits from which our action come. Because if I'm a good person, so I'm going to do good. Chas v'shalom, someone who is not such a good person, it's not going to do good. People are going to complain about that person because it's not a good person. Or a person who speaks constantly Lashon Hara, or a person who just refuses to help, right? So the Kohen is wearing what he is wearing. Why? To rectify, to correct the traits. Actually, we know from the Megillah that Achashverosh, when he made the party, the Seudah, he wore the clothing of the Cohen Gadol. Many kings were so jealous of this clothing because they looked majestic. They had such splendor. They had such a look and made you feel like a billion person, not just a million person, but a billion person. And so by doing this, the Cohen Gadol, he reveals that he, as well as for himself and to the Jewish people that he represents, he identifies with their beings and with these noble qualities. The sins that may have been committed are shown to be outward failures. So Torah tells us, if I sinned with Lashon Hara or whatever else, so I made a mistake. I chose wrong. I made the wrong decision. But that doesn't make me a bad person as long as I correct myself. It's not permanent. It's not a lacking trait. It's not something that is so stuck within me because I'm correcting it. But if I don't, yes, it will become a lacking trait. As it says in Tehillim, David HaMelech said in Tehillim 132, Pasuk 9, Kohanecha ilbeshu tzedek, that your Kohanim will be clothed in righteousness, tzedek, in truth. They were clothed, the Kohanim, in more than just fabric. They were to turn their attention to the midot, to the traits, to the characteristics, and thereby close their neshama. By putting those on, they knew there are great expectations. And if there are great expectations, it means I have to do better. And my actions have to be better. And so they are clothing their neshama with better midot, and not only theirs, but also to the people, to Am Yisrael, because that was their influence of the Cohen Gadol, clothing us with tzidkut, with righteousness. May Hashem help us so that we should see Mashiach soon, and we should be able to have the Bet HaMikdash and see the Kohen dressed in his bigdei kehuna, his beautiful clothing, betiferet, with splendor. That will help us be even better people.